You know, there are some stories that are just so powerful, they almost feel more like myth than history. I'm talking about a tiny force of soldiers standing against an absolutely unstoppable empire, a battle for the fate of a nation, fought in a narrow little mountain pass. Well, this is the story of one of the most famous last stands in all of human history, the Battle of Thermopylae. Come and take them. That was the reply. That's what King Leonidas of Sparta said when Xerxes, the king of the vast Persian Empire, commander of the largest army on earth, demanded the Greeks lay down their weapons. I mean, that one phrase, it just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the raw courage and the unbreakable spirit at the very heart of this legendary battle. Now, this epic confrontation didn't just happen out of the blue. Oh no. It was really the explosive climax of decades of tension between the colossal, expanding Persian Empire and these fiercely independent Greek city-states. This was a battle for survival, for sure, but it was also a battle for revenge. So let's quickly trace the road to war here. It all kicks off when Greek cities over in Ionia rebel against Persian rule, and Athens decides to send them some help. Well, in response, Persia's King Darius invades Greece, but, and this is a huge but, he's dealt a stunning defeat at the Battle of Marathon. Fast forward about 10 years, and his son, Xerxes, is on the throne. And let me tell you, he has a score to settle. He gathers one of the largest armies the ancient world has ever seen to finish what his father started and crush Greece, once and for all. So what you have here is this incredible clash of two totally different ways of thinking. On one side, you've got Xerxes, who's basically thinking his massive, overwhelming force can just steamroll anybody who gets in his way. But on the other side, you've got the Greeks who know, they just know, their only real hope is to use their homeland's geography as a weapon. The Persian plan was all about scale, right? Conquer everything with a force that's just too big to fail. But the Greek plan, well, it was brilliant in its simplicity. They decided to find the narrowest points on land and sea, the Pass of Thermopylae and the Straits of Artemisium, and turn them into choke points. In these bottlenecks, all of Persia's vast numbers, they wouldn't matter. It was a classic strategy of brains versus brawn. Okay, so let's get into the who's who of this fight, because the two armies could not have been more different. I mean, the sheer disparity in their numbers, their equipment, and even what was driving them, it's staggering. I mean, look at this. The contrast is just night and day. On one side, Xerxes is leading this massive army of conscripts, basically pulled from all corners of his empire, and they're motivated by conquest and revenge. His elite unit was the famed 10,000 immortals. On the other side, you've got Sparta's King Leonidas, commanding a small allied force of citizen soldiers, the hoplites, who were fighting to defend their homes, their families, their freedom. And believe me, that difference in motivation, it would prove to be absolutely critical. Let's talk numbers, because this is where it gets crazy. Now, ancient historians claimed Xerxes' army was in the millions, but modern scholars think it was probably closer to 180,000 men. Even so, for the ancient world, this was an astronomical, almost unimaginable number of soldiers. Just try to picture that. And what did the Greeks have to face, this horde? About 7,000 men, total. That's a ratio of more than 25 to 1. The odds weren't just long, they were completely impossible. So, how in the world did they even plan to hold out for a single day? Well, the answer lies in this one word, the phalanx. You see, Greek hoplites, with their heavy bronze shields and their long spears, would lock together, shoulder to shoulder. This was the absolute key to the whole Greek strategy. In that tight, 15-meter-wide pass of Thermopylae, the phalanx became a living, breathing wall of bronze and iron that the lightly armored Persian infantry just could not break. For 4 whole days, Xerxes just waited. He assumed this tiny Greek force would see his massive army and simply flee in terror, but they didn't. So on the 5th day, the attack began, and for 2 full days, the Greek strategy worked to utter perfection. On day 1, Xerxes sent wave after wave of his troops, first the Medes, then the Scythians, to smash the Greek line. They were just slaughtered. Frustrated, he sent in his best troops, the legendary immortals. And they failed too. The ancient historian Herodotus tells us that Xerxes literally leaped from his throne in shock 3 times as he watched his elite soldiers get cut down. Day 2 brought more of the same, leaving the Persian king completely and totally baffled. The morale of the Greeks, on the other hand, was completely unshakable. When a soldier named Dinakes was told that the Persian arrows would be so thick they would block out the sun, he just calmly replied, "So much the better. Then we shall fight our battle in the shade." This tells you everything you need to know about their mindset. Just incredible. So, the Greek line held against the greatest army on earth. It really seemed like their strategy was unbeatable. But the pass wasn't broken by force. It was undone by betrayal. A local man named Ephialtes, probably hoping for a big reward, went to Xerxes and told him about a hidden mountain path that went around the Greek position. For this act of treachery, his name, Ephialtes, would forever become the Greek word for nightmare. Think about that. So Xerxes immediately sent his immortals along the path under the cover of darkness. And just like that, the Greek position was doomed. By dawn, Leonidas knew he was trapped. The Persians were coming from the front, and now they were coming from behind. He faced this absolutely impassable choice: order a full retreat and save his men, or stay and fight to the death. So put yourself in his shoes for a moment. What would you do? Leonidas made a decision that would echo through eternity. He ordered the majority of the Greek army to retreat, to save themselves so they could fight another day. But he would remain. He formed a rearguard with his 300 Spartans, 700 brave Thespians who actually refused to leave his side, and 400 Thebans. He chose to fight to the last man, buying precious time for the retreat and, as legend has it, fulfilling an oracle's prophecy that Sparta would only be saved by the death of one of its kings. That last stand was brutal and heroic. Leonidas and his men fought until their spears shattered. Then they fought with their swords. And when those broke, they fought with their bare hands in their teeth. In the end, they were just overwhelmed. But their sacrifice transformed what was a military defeat into something so much greater, an immortal legend. Sure, the Persians won the battle, but look at the staggering cost they paid for it. An estimated 20,000 of their soldiers were killed, including 2 of Xerxes' own brothers. For the Greeks, these numbers sent a powerful message. The Persians were not invincible. They could be bled, and a victory against them could be so costly that it feels more like a defeat. So in the short term, Thermopylae was a Persian victory, no doubt about it. They marched south, burning cities and sacking the evacuated city of Athens. But, and this is critical, the bulk of the Greek army had escaped. They regrouped, preparing for the next fight. The war was far from over, and that sacrifice at Thermopylae had bought them precious time and an invaluable surge of morale. After the war, a stone was placed over the burial mound of the fallen Spartans with this inscription: "O stranger, tell the Lacedaemonians that we lie here obedient to their words." Lacedaemon was the official name for the Spartan state, and this simple, powerful testament to duty and sacrifice, well, it has inspired people for 2.5 millennia. It still gives you chills. So, we're left with this really interesting question. Tactically, it was a defeat, of course, but it became this incredibly inspirational symbol of courage against impossible odds, a moral victory that galvanized all of Greece to ultimately repel the invasion. So you have to ask yourself, was Thermopylae history's most successful defeat? A loss that actually laid the groundwork for the ultimate victory? Now that's something we're thinking about.